But back to Scott. He what was his best quality in it? Because he was the guy that had it all, right? I mean, I think universally agreed. Great worker in the ring, entertaining on the mic, smart like hell. Could put the match together, could put a finish together. Knew it was good for his angles. If you were working with Scott, if you were married to Scott, you knew you were gonna have a good run. What of those things was his superpower? Was it the psychology?
I think his passion.
Right.
I think he was so. I read a tweet that somebody retweeted, and it was from Dwayne from The Rock, and they showed a clip of, and this is when I think Dwayne posted this when Scott first passed, and it was a match that they had when we came back, and he told Scott how he had emulated and watched tapes and loved his crispness and how everything he did there was no wasted motion. And I saw a couple things like our Dom wrote a beautiful piece about Scott that she shared with me last night, and I read it, and it was just like he was saying, like, if you were honored enough to be paintbrushed by Scott Hall, because nobody else fucking did. Like, nobody, there was only one Scott Hall. He had that James Dean cool to him. It wasn't forced. He was just that motherfucker. I always thought he was more Sean Connery myself. He had that kind of stuff. He wasn't British. He was
Something I learned about Scott from you guys, working with Sean Waltman on something I'm doing now, and just talking to you, that people outside wrestling probably don't know. He cared so much about not just like getting himself over, but like he cared about wrestlers, like
always. I remember when we had a Nitro and like they just basically told Scott to go out and beat Jericho, and Scott fucking said, all right, and then Scott went out.
That's
to put
what I
Chris
mean.
Over.
Like,
and it was just like, and I know Chris, I know Chris remembers that because, but a lot of people aren't. A lot of people are so caught up in doing the process, where the process was second nature to Scott. So while everybody else is out there thinking what the first spot is, Scott's watching Jericho lean into the crowd, and the crowd just reach over and grab him like he's the lead singer from NXS Hutchinson, And Scott sees that, and he's like, "Nah, man, like, I'll give them what they find. I'll give the fucking people what they want. Fuck if the people in creative can't see it, maybe they just need to look through my lens." And he would fucking, he would do that. He would let people see it through the eyes of Scott. And most of the people that works with Scott, like you've got your sushi story and a little light. But when it came down to it, I mean, it was just he had a heart of gold. I never saw that dude ever go by a homeless dude or somebody in need and not give him money. Never, just not did not happen. And Sean Waltman and I were having this conversation yesterday, and we were talking, and you brought to my attention where that. Behind the, what's it called?
The series, Dark Side of the Ring?
The series. Yeah, it's the Dark Side of the Ring, so they want to do something. And they want to involve me. And they want to involve Sean Waltman. Cody's going to be involved, and you and I had this conversation yesterday. The thing that we want to do is, we just did the misconceptions of Kevin Nash as an episode, but just tell people who Scott really fucking was. And I just don't think that the A&E perspective is ever going to cover the post-traumatic stress of Scott and the shooting that happened at the Dollhouse on Orange Avenue. It just will never, and there's a reason why so many of our warriors come back from combat and they take their lives because they've taken a life. And Scott's thing was always, because he was so highly religious, that Scott would say, "But you don't understand, man. I'm not going to go to heaven. Like I've broken one of the 10 commandments. Thou shalt not kill. Like I've killed. I'm not going to go to heaven. My soul will be in limbo." I'm like, "No, man. That's not how it works. It's you can ask for forgiveness of your sins. If you're going to play the game, you can't read half the box. You can't read half the box top. You got to read the whole fucking thing." But that was one thing that Scott would always say, is when he was in the ring, he would say like he couldn't wait he'd love to work, and there were days that I would leave I'd leave my energy. I love to work out, so I'd train fucking back or legs or something like that, and I wouldn't have much left for the ring that night. And Scott'd be like, "That's fucking bullshit, man." But Scott would always say that in that ring, I'm in charge of fucking everything. He says, outside the ring, he says, I'm not in charge of anything. That's when I lose the reins of my life, when I go outside those ropes. In these ropes, I'm a maestro.
Right.
And he knew it.
He loved the business.
Scott'd be like, "That's fucking bullshit, man." But Scott would always say that in that ring, I'm in charge of fucking everything. He says, outside the ring, he says, I'm not in charge of anything. That's when I lose the reins of my life, when I go outside those ropes. In these ropes, I'm a maestro.
Right.
And he knew it.
He loved the business.
And he knew it.
He loved the business.
Scott'd be like, "That's fucking bullshit, man." But Scott would always say that in that ring, I'm in charge of fucking everything. He says, outside the ring, he says, I'm not in charge of anything. That's when I lose the reins of my life, when I go outside those ropes. In these ropes, I'm a maestro.
Right.
And he knew it.
He loved the business.
And he knew it.
He loved the business.